So now that we have the preliminaries out of the way with what forms mirages, we're ready to start looking at what happens to light rays that form these things, because mirages are just really an optical illusion out on the road here. So the net result of the last couple of videos is that for mirages, you get this air layering above the road, and that's just a key thing right there. And then we also have that, we remember that the index refraction is sort of proportional to the density of a material that light might encounter. So the more dense something is, the higher the index refraction is going to be. So let's just get that road drawn, and we'll set up the geometry that we encounter when we see mirages here. So here we go. Here's the car. Here's my head maybe in the car. That's where my eyeball is going to be. And of course, the sun is going to be illuminating everything like this. And what I'll draw now is, instead of focusing on the exact density, I'm just hoping that you sort of got that from the last video here, is I'll just draw the layers in here like this. So every one of these lines that I'm drawing here is going to delineate another layer of air. And of course, it's not going to be this precise or anything in actuality, but we just need a little model we can work with here. It'd be more of a continuous thing, but we'll just go with that. And as we drew last time also, we'd expect that as we went up away from the road like this, the air is going to get more dense because, of course, it's cooler. Okay? So we'll just go with that. All right. So here's what happens now. And you have to think very carefully about your law of refraction. Okay. So let's draw a light ray then, and coming in from the sun. And I'm going to try as hard as I can to pull this off, but usually sometimes I can get a little messed up. Let's see what happens here. Okay. So what we'll do is a light ray is going to come in from the sun, and it's going to hit this boundary right here. Okay. So now you think that, okay, what happens at this boundary right here? Well, at this boundary, what we have here is we have two indices of refraction once again. We might have like an N1, just trying to set the law of refraction for you again. We might have like an N1 right here, and we might have an N2. And what we also know about these air layers here is this air layer here is going to be less dense, and this one's going to be more dense. Okay? And so what we'll have then is we can conclude from that that this N1 here must be greater than N2, because N1 is more dense. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll just sort of execute what we know about the law of refraction now. So I'll go ahead and draw a little normal line in here like that, because there's a layer. Here's layer 1, here's layer 2. So now you got to think back to the law of refraction. You have a light ray which is coming in here, and it's going from more dense to less dense material, more dense to less dense. So you got to think now, how is it going to bend when it goes from more dense to less dense? And the only possible answers are it's either going to bend towards this normal, or it's going to bend away from the normal. So the answer, of course, here is that when light goes from more to less dense, the bending is going to be away from the normal. Away, away, away. That's the key thing here. So let's go ahead and draw the light ray in its big bending away from the normal here. Let me try to get the thickness about right that I had. Something like that. Yeah, maybe a little thicker. Okay, so here's that light ray bending away from the normal. The light ray from the sun is going to come in and bend like that. And I hope you can see the away from the normal, and I know it's away because this angle in here is very clearly larger than that angle in there. So it's just bent away from the normal. All right. So we can go back to the main picture. Now, we only tackled one of our layers, but that's really it in terms of the light interaction that we're going to see. We're always going to see this bending away from the normal. And so let me just keep going then. And so what I'll do, we'll just keep extending this ray to go on and on and on and down. But every time it encounters one of these layers here, it's going to do a bend away from the normal. And so here it goes again. This one will bend away from the normal. This one will bend away from the normal. This one will bend away from the normal. And away, and away, and away like this. And it'll sort of keep doing this. And I think my artwork is pushing the limits in terms of what we'd like to see here. Let me get one more layer down here. I think it'll help. If I just divide my layers up even finer, let me get another layer in here, something like that. There's another layer in there, so I can get another refraction here. So another refraction, bend away from the normal like that. And now what will happen is it'll definitely sort of keep doing this and maybe just sort of encounter the road right there, and that doesn't sort of get us anywhere. But now there's another thing that happens if we sort of look in here. looking here at this point right here, and hopefully you can see what's happening, is that light ray from the sun that originally went down like that in the absence of all this layering business, would just have loved to just go straight down and just hit the road right there. But you wouldn't even see it in that case here. But it did encounter this road here, these layers of air, pardon me. And so the law of refraction started to take over and just started to really bend and bend and bend and curve that light until it sort of got near the car like this. And there's one more thing here that we're not ignoring, that we are ignoring for the case of simplicity here, is remember that at every one of these interaction points here, like say right here, there will be a refraction down like this, but there'll also be a reflection, right? So there'll also be a reflection going up like that and a reflection going up like that. There's a reflection would always happen according to the law of reflection, like this light would just sort of keep going that way and keep going that way and keep going that way. Has nothing to do with the mirage. We would never see these rays, but it will be important down here, say for right here at this point here, maybe this reflection finally off the layer will go into my eye. Okay, now this is the key point about the mirage now, is all of this bending, all this layering has resulted finally in some light from the sun that I can see. Finally the ray went into my eyes, and boy did it take a path other than the one it would have if the air wasn't there. But that's the nature of the game here, and that's sort of where this optical illusion of the mirage comes from. Okay, so this is essentially it, where the mirage comes from. And in the next video then, I will tell you then, well, what do we see then? What is it that we actually see if this light ray suddenly and finally goes into my eye?